Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about harnessing exercise to tame your anxiety. In our journey through life, we often experience situations that trigger our fight or flight responses. Anybody listening to this show is familiar with that. Those moments where anxiety surges through us. Surprisingly, exercise can evoke a similar physiological reaction. The heart races, hormones surge, and the thought of exercise can feel unsettling for many. But there is a hidden truth here that could reshape your perspective on both anxiety and exercise. So I wanted to talk about understanding the synchronized dance, if you will, of anxiety and exercise. It's common to feel apprehensive about the anxiety that sometimes can accompany exercise. Now, many of you may not know what I'm talking about because you probably haven't experienced this, but anybody who has experienced the exercise-induced anxiety knows exactly what I'm talking about. Regular exercisers who loved their running or whatever their favorite exercise was that they did regularly, all of a sudden is in grave danger because when they exercise, they feel like they're having a panic attack or their anxiety is rising quickly. Because there is a natural response to a perceived threat. Our bodies are wired actually to react this way. We are igniting in a small way the fight or flight response during exercise. And this is natural. So it isn't something that we should fear, and most people don't fear it unless you have those crossed wires that happened, and all of a sudden you are equating your exercise physiology with anxiety. So don't worry too much about that racing heart or the heightened alertness. It's your body's way of preparing you for the task at hand. Now, we can understand this in our minds, but now we need to embody it, right? Because you're out there exercising and you're beginning to feel uncomfortable. You can't do it. I have worked with these people and got the email from some of you that are talking about this. I did not ever experience this myself. The reassuring truth is that nearly everyone experiences these sensations during exercise. Elevated heart rate, released hormones, and other physiological changes are par for the course. And most people don't think anything of it. If you've ever wondered why exercise can sometimes be uncomfortable, I want you to know that you're not alone. This happens to many people. So you're just got the crossed wire. The physiological sensations that you are feeling from exercising, in your brain, you are equating that to a panic attack. And so you're scared. You don't want to feel that. Or maybe you had a panic attack while you were running. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's okay. Doesn't matter. I want you to know you're not alone. This crossed wire can happen and you will work your way out of it. It doesn't need to be there forever. You don't have to give up your exercise and you don't want to. Exercise is so important for those of us trying to work our way out of anxiety, out of high stress and fear. Embracing the gradual transformation is what will happen. It will be slow. And here's something to consider. It can take time to feel entirely comfortable with your exercise again, much like how it takes time for your body to adapt to any new situation. returning to a sense of normalcy after a period of reduced activity doesn't happen overnight. You might even find that your exercise routine evolves into something different from before, and that's perfectly okay. So what I want you to do is to not fear that you can never get back to exercising, but I want you to also embrace the idea that it's going to be gradual, you getting back into it again. It's almost as if you are gradually getting used to anything else that was difficult or uncomfortable. We take little steps. We don't want to re-trigger ourselves and get ourselves all scared and fearful again, but we also don't want to completely avoid. It's really a dance because we're stepping forward. Maybe we went a little too far, so we take a little bit of a step back. It's okay. And you may, like I was saying, evolve your whole routine into something different. You may pick up a different exercise and let your body get used to it in that way. One of the things you could do is if you were, let's say you were used to running every day, instead you could shift into maybe a sport or a game. Maybe you would rather get back into increasing your exercise through playing tennis or pickleball or something that was more of a sport so that you weren't so alone and only thinking about how your body was feeling, but more engaged in the social and game aspects of the exercise instead. Just an idea. There's something that I read was interesting. Lactic acid, being a byproduct of intense exercise, has been actually linked to anxiety. The research showed that people with anxiety sometimes experience attacks, I imagine they meant anxiety attacks, after injections of lactic acid. Now, I found that interesting because, like I said, I never had this difficulty with exercise, but I did have an injection of adrenaline through when I was having a dental procedure. The Novocaine had adrenaline in it, and I immediately felt like I had had 12 cups of caffeine, coffee. And so I can understand that feeling that can come up from something such as adrenaline, which is in our body also, but this came from the outside. And in the study, they injected people with lactic acid from the outside, and they experienced, anxious people experienced anxiety. So it's very interesting that what is actually perfectly normal, the body producing lactic acid, the body having adrenaline increasing, we can use it to our advantage, or we can become fearful of it because we had a bad experience around it. So we just need to change those crossed wires. We don't have to live with that feeling or fear forever. Changes in your brain and body, like exercise itself, require time and patience to rewire. I want you to be super kind to yourself. Don't want you to be hard on yourself if this is going to take some time. And we also want to remember that we empower our mind and body through exercise, so we don't want to eliminate it from our lives. So through all these insights lies a powerful truth that exercise is a potent tool to combat anxiety. Exercise doesn't discriminate. It benefits everyone, whether you're struggling with mental health issues or not. It directly reduces stress and anxiety by releasing endorphins and oxytocin, two of those feel-good hormones that soothe our mind and elevate our mood. The fabled runner's high is real, and it's a testament to the transformative potential of exercise. Now remember, you don't need to embark on intense workouts to reap the benefits of exercise. That's why if you've been anxious from the feeling of exercise and you've dropped out of your workouts for a while, it's okay to start slow because you will still get benefits. Even gentle, moderate exercise like walking, tai chi, qigong, doing household chores, practicing yoga can do wonders. Doing these activities consistently is the key. Eventually, we want to shoot for at least 30 minutes 3 to 5 times a week, but you don't have to start there. So don't white knuckle through 30 minutes of pain when you can start slower and build yourself up. We don't want to scare ourselves and re-trigger our amygdala into turning on every time we go out and do something that is exercise related. So here's some action steps that you can take in getting yourself into this mode again of exercising. First off, I want you to acknowledge what is happening. When you get that feeling, you're out walking, maybe you sped it up, you decided maybe I'm going to run a little bit. As soon as you start running, you start feeling anxious because your heart rate has gone up high enough for you to trigger into feeling anxious. I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to acknowledge what is happening. Understand that it is normal and keep going, meaning I want you to keep going, but maybe at a lower pace. Maybe you want to go back to walking, and don't be afraid of the feeling. Understand that it is a normal feeling of being out there exercising. Second, I want you to take a break if needed. I don't want you to white knuckle through 30 minutes of hard, painful, excruciating, anxious time. No, ease up. Maybe take a break. Don't run, but walk. Maybe don't do 30 minutes, do 10. Whatever it is where you need to readjust, back off so that you can get used to a lower pace and not feel so excitable. Third, I want you to allow yourself permission. Give yourself permission to start over with your exercise, just to try it out. Try something new and different, whatever, but give yourself permission to go slow and start over if you need. 4, I want you to walk. Regardless of what your exercise is, I want you to walk. Everybody can walk. If you can't walk, you probably can roll. So use your arms and roll. But I want you to do it outside if you can. Get yourself outside in the fresh air, under the sunlight, with your eyes being able to gaze at long distances rather than short screens all the time. Get outside and walk. Now, number 5, I want you to start small, especially if exercise makes you feel anxious. I want you to do something you enjoy. Maybe that means switching it up, like I said earlier. Maybe you're not running, but playing a game or doing a sport so that it takes your mind somewhere else, and you may not notice the increased heart rate in the way that you do when you run. Number 6, set up some kind of routine. Now, routine can be really helpful because we don't need to think about it so much, and the fewer ways and times that we need to involve our mind into it, the better off we'll be. So maybe it can be a routine of how you're doing squats around the house, and you just do them every time you're waiting for the water to boil for your tea, you do squats, or every time you're waiting for your computer to boot up in the morning and get started, you do squats. I like squats because they're easy, they're accessible. I mean, they're not easy in that they don't do anything, but they're there. You can do them, and you can do them as deep or as shallow as your physical body needs you to do them. But do them. Even if you're doing light squats, do them. That will be better than not doing anything. And last but not least, I want you to, when you are feeling anxious, get active and use exercise as a way to burn off some of the stress hormones. This is us doing the flip side of the anxiety and exercise. Now we're turning it around, and we're going to exercise when we feel stressful or anxious. This is a way to turn it around. And you've already got the anxiety, you've already got the stress, so I'm going to go move my body so that I can burn off some of these stress hormones. Again, it can be walking, it can be squats, it can be playing a game, whatever. But I want you to get out there, even if it means starting really light and slow. So let's go over some of these reminders here for you. I want you to acknowledge and move forward. Don't let the anxiety and the fear of that feeling, that physiological feeling, dictate your actions. Keep going, but maybe, like I said earlier, at a lower pace, and don't be afraid of the feelings that surface. It's okay. There's not something wrong with you. You're not in a bad place. And be kind to yourself. Taking a break is okay. Don't push yourself too hard. The reason I want to bring this up again as a reminder is because this is part of our life. This is not just a quick race that we're having and then we're done. This whole idea of exercise is part of our lives forever. We're always going to be needing to get our heart rate up and exercise, keep the blood flowing. So don't push yourself in a way as if I just got to get it all done now. No, you don't have to get it all done now because you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. A way that you can look at this is to walk into calmness. Walking, especially out in nature, can significantly reduce your anxiety. It's a gentle yet powerful way to get calm. I want you to begin small and find something enjoyable. Some people like exercise classes. Some people like being in the water versus on the land. Find what it is that turns your smile on when you think about moving your body. And finally, use exercise as the stress buster. When anxiety strikes, channel it into activity. Exercise can help burn off the stress hormones and leave you more centered, and then you have flipped the coin. It is no longer your exercise causing you to feel anxious, but you're anxious and you're going to use exercise to calm it back down again. The journey to harnessing exercise as an anxiety taming tool is a testament to your commitment to personal growth. By acknowledging the connections between anxiety and exercise, you're empowering yourself to live a fuller, more vibrant life. So lace up your sneakers, step outside, and embark on this transformative journey of mind and body. I love being here with you, and I hope that if you have a question for me, you'll send it to anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com. And now for today's quote. Strength does not come from the physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. And that's from Mahatma Gandhi. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.